Welcome. If you are listening to this right now, chances are you have been feeling that creeping, heavy frustration with the state of the world today.
Oh, absolutely. That heavy collective weight.
Right. Maybe you feel it when you look at the news, or maybe it is just a generalized exhaustion that sits right behind your eyes.
Yeah, you are definitely not alone in that.
We are jumping straight into the deep end today to look at a source text that is fascinating, highly direct, and, well, totally unapologetic about how to handle that exact exhaustion.
It really pulls no punches.
It really doesn't. We are going to explore excerpts from the 2025 iSpirit course, specifically a module titled Presence First, the iSpirit Path to Inner Sovereignty.
And right off the bat, we should mention this source material is highly unique,
Yeah, it is presented by Robert Tice, and it explicitly states it is delivered with the presence of Archangel Michael.
which is quite a framing. So we're stepping firmly into the realm of esoteric and spiritual self-management here.
Exactly. And whether you view that framing as literal spiritual truth or, as a really profound psychological metaphor for accessing your highest self, the text fundamentally challenges how you view your identity.
Your struggles, your relationship to the modern world, all of it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to understand the profound shift this text argues is absolutely required for any true collective change to happen.
Because it argues the external world cannot be fixed first.
Right. We are going to explore a massive ultimate conflict that occurs between our daily human habits and our deeper soul. And finally, we are going to break down a highly practical, step-by-step technique the course offers to help you reclaim what it calls your inner sovereignty.
The foundational context here is crucial to understand before we dive into the mechanics of those techniques. The Course openly acknowledges that many people are incredibly frustrated by the current state of the world.
It completely validates that feeling of deep, bone-level exhaustion.
It does. But the core premise it establishes, and this is the pivot point for everything else we will discuss today, is that true change in our collective human experience must first happen inside the individual.
It basically argues that trying to fix the outside world first is a trap.
Exactly. It says we have to move beyond these simple binary divisions we get stuck in. Divisions like light and dark, human and angel, or male and female.
It is suggesting that the shift we are all looking for has everything to do with how you, the individual, feel about yourself.
Yes, your willingness to feel true love for all that you have been through is what creates profound change.
Let's talk about what that actually looks like, because the text introduces a concept about the planet itself that is pretty challenging to wrap your head around at first.
The mirror concept.
Yeah, the mirror. The Course says that if your mind is sitting there needing evidence that this spiritual reality, this inner power is actually real, you don't need to look very far. You just need to look at Earth.
Because Earth acts simply as a mirror.
A mirror for how you feel about yourself, which is a heavy concept.
It is very heavy.
If I am watching the evening news and seeing chaos, or, if I am just in a bitter argument with a coworker, the text is saying that is a direct reflection of my own internal landscape. How does that practically work?
The way the text frames it, the external world is a neutral reflection of your internal frequency.
Yeah.
It is not necessarily saying that you personally caused a geopolitical crisis.
Right, that would be absurd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is saying that your reaction to it, the despair or anger it triggers in you, is mirroring an unresolved lack of peace within yourself.
So if you are constantly encountering conflict out there, the mirror is just showing you your own internal conflict.
Precisely. And the Course doesn't tiptoe around how to clean that mirror. It uses this wonderfully blunt language stating that self-love has a way of cutting through all the bullshit.
Cutting through all the distractions, all the filters, and all the lies we tell ourselves about why we are unhappy. But it mentions that self-love acts as a sort of bypass, and I want to pause on that word. When you say spiritual bypass, people usually mean avoiding real psychological work, like slapping a good vibes only sticker over a gaping emotional wound and pretending everything is fine. How is this text using that concept differently?
What's fascinating here is the text's underlying logic about energy conservation. It is not advocating for toxic positivity or ignoring your problems.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it poses a really direct question. Why waste all your energy endlessly processing feelings that still feel conflicted?
Does spending hours analyzing your inner turmoil and your trauma actually improve or enhance your human experience?
The Course argues that eventually it does not. It just becomes an endless loop. So in this context, the spiritual bypass mechanism is highly functional.
Okay, I see. By choosing radical self-love, you are bypassing the tedious, exhausting process of analyzing every single human grievance you hold.
Yes. You cut through that mental filtering, which then allows the divine presence to actually make itself known to you. You stop wasting energy on the friction, and instead, you create a clear channel for your natural state to emerge.
Which brings us to how we actually survive out there in the world with this clear channel. Because we still have to live here.
We do.
The author talks about meeting people over the years that they call true pioneers of spirit. But even for these pioneers, the text acknowledges a really deep dichotomy in how we have to view reality just to get through the day.
It describes these two very different lenses you can look through.
Right. If you look at the world today through the eyes of your soul, the text says you will feel a great deal of compassion for the condition that so many people find themselves in.
You see the bigger picture, you see the struggle, and you just feel immense love and understanding.
But the text is also deeply pragmatic. It admits that if you look at humanity through the eyes of your human self, the part of you that has to pay bills, navigate traffic, deal with office politics, your very sanity relies on adopting a different approach.
The Course calls it the be in it but not of it approach.
Yeah.
You have to exist here, but you cannot let the world's density become your core identity.
I have to challenge that a bit, though, because we hear phrases like be in it but not of it all the time in spiritual circles. Isn't that just a convenient excuse to disengage?
How so?
Like a way to say, well, the world is burning, but I am going to sit in my Zen bubble and not take any responsibility for it. How does the text defend against that turning into sheer apathy?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text isn't advocating for apathy at all. It is advocating for sustainability.
Sustainability.
Right. To be on this planet but not of it speaks directly to those individuals who use Earth as that mirror for their inner reality. It uses terms like conscious creator.
Meaning someone who is actively trying to manage their internal state rather than just reacting to external stimuli.
Exactly. When you are a conscious creator, you are dealing with what the text calls the world's density. Density is the heavy, reactive, fear-based emotion of the collective.
So if you engage with that density on its own terms, if you dive into the burning building without any protective gear, you just become another casualty.
You do. The in it but not of it mindset is a survival tactic. It creates a necessary buffer zone.
It allows you to participate in human life, to offer compassion, and to take action without being totally consumed or destroyed by the collective anxiety.
You can't be a clear mirror for others if your own mirror is shattered by the world's chaos.
That makes a lot of sense. You need the buffer zone because, according to this text, we don't just have chaos on the outside, we have a massive amount of turbulence on the inside, too.
The internal pushback.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Course introduces what might be the central paradox of this entire spiritual journey.
It is a profound realization.
It points out that humans are naturally attracted to the presence of their soul. We crave that peace. We read books about it. We listen to deep dives about it. We meditate.
We say we want it more than anything.
But when a person actually allows that deep soul presence to step in and be fully present, they suddenly feel like they are losing an essential part of themselves. They ask for the soul, but the moment it arrives, panic sets in.
It happens because we are talking about a fundamental clash of natures. At its absolute core, the text states that the soul has no issues.
No issues at all.
Zero. That
Yeah.
zero-issue state represents our true natural state of being. However, to the human self, which has been conditioned over a lifetime or lifetimes, depending on your view, living without issues feels completely unnatural.
The human identity is largely constructed around solving problems, nursing grievances, maintaining amends, feeding underlying cravings. We literally build our personalities around our struggle.
We do.
I can completely relate to this on a mundane level. I will sit down to meditate, trying to be this calm, conscious creator we are talking about. I want the peace. But the second the Wi-Fi drops or someone cuts me off in traffic later that day, I am instantly furious.
And part of you enjoys it.
If I am being really honest, a weird part of my brain actually does enjoy being mad about it. It gives me a target. It gives me something to chew on and complain about.
Exactly. Those habits and issues serve as a familiar substitute for our natural state. They keep the human ego occupied.
So when you let the soul's light in to truly support you, you actually begin to lose the very identity you have built.
You start losing the need to be angry about the traffic or the Wi-Fi. And to the human ego, losing its issues doesn't feel like peace. It feels like death. It feels like you are disappearing.
We complain about our issues constantly, but our human identity is secretly terrified of letting them go. So naturally, there is friction. The text points out that the closer the soul gets, the harder the human self and all its conditioned parts pushes back.
You literally fight off the exact peace you have been asking for.
But the detail from the source that stood out the most to me, the most confusing and profound part of this whole dynamic, is how the soul reacts to that pushback.
The withdrawal.
Yes, the soul doesn't overpower you. It doesn't force its way in to save you from your own road rage or your anxiety. The text explicitly says that the soul will actually respect the pushback and it will begin to withdraw its presence.
Out of respect.
Out of respect, it just politely steps back.
It is a devastatingly polite withdrawal. The text notes that this is often the most confusing discovery for anyone on this path. We are culturally conditioned to expect divine intervention to be this overwhelming, conquering force that swoops in and fixes us against our will.
But true inner sovereignty requires total free will.
Right. If your human self gets scared and says, no, I want to keep my anxiety, I want to keep my drama, I need my outrage, the soul honors that choice completely. But the consequence of that withdrawal is severe.
I keep picturing it like you invited the wisest, most peaceful person you know into your incredibly messy house, but the second they walk in, you panic that they were going to start cleaning up your mess, so you yell at them to stop.
And instead of arguing, they just tip their hat and walk out the front door.
Leaving you alone with the mess you said you wanted to keep.
That is a perfect analogy. And the text explains that this withdrawal leaves the human completely alone with all its false projections of itself. It leaves you isolated with all your fears, your worries, and your concerns.
This creates a feeling of profound instability.
You are left wondering where you fit into all of this, spinning out in the chaos of your own unanchored mind, feeling abandoned by the very spiritual presence you pushed away.
So if that is the trap we are all falling into, if our human self is constantly pushing away the peace we actually want and leaving us unstable in our messy houses, how do we take command of this situation?
The Course doesn't just diagnose the problem, it offers a very specific tool.
It shares what it calls one of the best morning mantras ever created. I'm going to read it exactly as it is written in the text. You wake up and you declare, "You soul are now here. I am here, you now say. And now that I am, energies start to serve me."
This raises an important question, though. Declaring that mantra in the quiet of your bedroom sounds incredibly empowering. You are asserting your presence and commanding your energy. But, as we just discussed, the moment you declare something so aligned with your soul, you are going to trigger that familiar pushback from the conditioned energies in your mind and body.
The human ego will instantly start generating doubts, fears, and resistance.
It will tell you that you are foolish, or that you have too many problems to be peaceful today. The text is very clear that it brings this up not to frighten the reader, but to help them see the playing field for what it actually is.
The path to your own freedom, as the author notes, is not for the faint of heart.
No, it requires immense courage to face your own internal resistance. But, crucially, the text also promises that this path is filled with love if you simply allow it.
You have to know the resistance is coming so you don't panic when it arrives. Saying the mantra is just the starting gun for the day. To navigate the actual minefield of resistance as you go about your life, the text introduces the ultimate solution.
The title of the Course itself.
Right. Presence First Reminders. Let's really dig into this because this seems to be the practical, daily application of everything we have been talking about. What is a Presence First Reminder, mechanically speaking?
The mechanics of the Presence First Reminder are elegantly simple, but profoundly difficult to execute in the heat of the moment.
How so?
The text instructs that going forward, no matter what you are about to do, you must just stop for a moment. Just stop. That stopping is not just a physical pause. It is an energetic reset.
The Course explains that stopping means you are actively taking ownership of this exact moment.
By pausing, you are officially dropping the pushback from your human ego. You take ownership simply by allowing that divine presence, the soul that previously withdrew out of respect, to now be fully present with you before you take action.
Let's walk through a scenario to make this concrete. Let's say I am at work. I just received a highly aggressive, deeply unfair email from my boss. My heart is pounding, my human ego is completely activated, and I am already drafting a furious, defensive reply in my head.
You are fully in the density of the world right now.
Fully. Walk me through how I apply the presence first pause in that exact moment.
In that moment, your human self is demanding to engage with the drama. It wants to fight. If you hit reply right then, you're acting from that unanchored, unstable place.
So what is the first step?
To apply the text's method, you first have to recognize the physical and mental pushback happening in your body. Then, you step away from the keyboard. You physically and energetically stop.
I don't type anything.
Not yet. You might close your eyes or just take a breath, but the intention is what matters. In that pause, you remember the morning mantra. You acknowledge that your human self is panicking, but you actively choose to drop the defense.
You say internally, I am inviting my natural, issue-free state back into this moment.
You are telling your soul that you are no longer pushing it away. You wait in that pause until you feel a shift, until you feel that buffer zone return, that sense of being in it but not of it.
And only once that presence is established, only once you have reclaimed your inner sovereignty over your own emotional state, do you look at the email again and decide how to act.
And acting from that place of presence is going to yield a completely different result than acting from the ego's panic.
The text says that when you do this regularly, presence first becomes a reliable, trustworthy base of support. It becomes your active lifeline back to your divine self amidst the chaos of the earth mirror.
It stops being an abstract concept and becomes a daily muscle you build.
Precisely. And what's vital to understand is that the soul doesn't judge you for needing to pause 100 times a day. Every time you stop and invite it back, it returns instantly.
It doesn't hold a grudge for being pushed away earlier. It simply waits for you to drop the resistance.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring all these pieces together. We are looking at a framework where you are asked to recognize the entire planet Earth and all the chaotic situations you encounter as nothing more than a mirror reflecting your own internal state.
If you want to change the reflection, you have to change yourself.
But when you try to find that peace, you have to be prepared for the fact that your human habits, your cravings, and your need for drama will aggressively push back. Because to the human ego, living without issues feels unnatural.
And the most startling realization we uncovered is that your deeper soul will politely withdraw out of respect the moment you push back, leaving you in unstable isolation with your fears.
To combat this, to reclaim your inner sovereignty, you have to utilize the presence. First pause. You stop. You command your energy. You drop the resistance, and you invite the divine presence back in to anchor you before you engage with the world.
And if we look at how this applies directly to you, the listener, in your daily life, it is a remarkably practical tool, regardless of your personal spiritual vocabulary.
Because we live in an era of unprecedented distraction, outrage, and reactivity.
The world constantly demands that you engage with it through those fearful human eyes, caught up in the friction. By implementing a presence-first reminder, by literally forcing yourself to pause and ground yourself in your deeper, unbothered nature before you send that angry email, before you react to that news story, or before you walk into that stressful meeting, you are reclaiming your sovereignty.
You are choosing not to be consumed by the mirror's reflection.
You are choosing to be in the world, but not of it, finding your stability from the inside out.
It is a totally different way to operate, and it puts all the responsibility and all the power right back in your hands. It is not about waiting for the world to calm down so you can finally be peaceful. It is about claiming your peace so you can navigate the world.